We're going to get going. I know there's quite a few people interested that are wanting to watch the replay. So whether you're here live or watching the replay, welcome. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us. And I hope that we can provide value and encourage you along your health journey to, take that next step, whatever that may be. And many of you in the Next Level Wellness community and some of our followers and fans on social media, I would say majority of us are women, and hormone imbalance is mostly I would say primarily a women dominated topic. However, men do experience hormone imbalance as well. But because of our unique biology, women definitely see the impacts of hormone balance more in their day-to-day lives, especially through the ages of menstruation and then going into menopause. So if you're joining us live, if you would like to say, are you more interested in menstrual health or menopausal health? That can actually help us frame the conversation for those of us that are here live. So you could pop that in the chat and we will see that come up. I'm just going to do a short introduction of myself so you can understand why we're here. So I am Nina Lane, and I am the owner and founder of Nina Lane Wellness and Nutrition. And I am passionate about really spreading a message of holistic and sustainable wellness through, firstly, nutrition, but also lifestyle, and understanding that wellness is holistic and we need to approach it in that way. A bit about me and what has brought me here. I actually come from a background of academics. I completed my master's of physiology at the University of Saskatchewan, as well as spent some time in pharmaceutical research and development, and I'm really passionate about human health and understanding about how the body works. However, I found myself in a lab, in a range hood, or working with animals and realized that, there's a lot we can do day to day. And so following my passion and my interest back in earlier 2000s, I started on a journey to become a nutrition professional, and I got my nutritional therapy practitioner certification and have now been practicing in the industry for over a decade. And I have now specialized in helping women, but also those individuals suffering with autoimmune disease and complex disease conditions. And so here we are. Really excited to be with you today and speak to you about how that we can take our health to the next level, especially within the area of hormones. And as I mentioned, my mission is really to create that movement of foundational health and wellness. It's not a gimmick. There's no short-term fixes or quick fixes. It's really about empowering and educating people to connect with their wellness, to reconnect with their bodies and create that awareness to support lasting and optimal health. And I do that through one-to-one consultations with Nina Lane Wellness, but also within the community, which this event is a byproduct of, where we can all work together to take those next steps in our wellness journey, whatever step that may be. And so today we're here learning about hormone disruptors. Okay, so some things in our lives, when we look at our hormones month to month, whether it's, like I mentioned, our menstrual cycle hormones, or as we head into menopause, but even we can look at hormones which control our hunger, hormones which help us balance our stress and our sleep. Hormones are really integral into our health and how we show up in our day-to-day life. And really, I always like to say hormones are the lens which we view the world, are the lens through which we view the world. My goodness. I'm sure you're all laughing at me now. But really, when they're well, they're like rose-colored glasses, and we are more vibrant, we are more engaged, we have more to give, and really all is right in the world. But as we come into hormone imbalance, or as we become out of balance with our health, our hormones can then follow with that imbalance, and we can start feeling like we maybe are having a cloud following us. It's gray, it's dull. We don't have the energy for ourselves or for those around us. We can become just feeling like we're not ourselves. And, listening to our body, those are all symptoms that there is a deeper imbalance. And hormones can be part of that imbalance. And we need to understand that hormone imbalance is actually a consequence of deeper issues. And so when we look at our hormones, understand that hormone imbalance is actually a symptom. It is an issue, but we can actually go back deeper to even further down root causes if we are going to say, what is that root cause? And so when we look at what the symptoms of hormone imbalances can be, it's a laundry list. Okay. It can be, we can look at our hormone imbalances and we can go, okay, these are really connected with my menstruation, my menstrual cycle. However, we can actually look at different areas of our life, whether it is energy, whether it's sleep, mood, muscles. All these different areas can actually be impacted by our hormones. And so if this is something that, if you see something on here that really stands out to you, and you're like, hey, this has actually been going on, you want to learn more, I do work with clients one-to-one to help them understand what their symptoms mean, or to connect them with the right professionals to get the answers. But these are all symptoms of hormone imbalance. And if you're experiencing some of these, the good news is that we can actually improve them. Now, primarily, I'm a nutritionist, and, nutrition, obviously fueling our bodies. We can look at the energy, but also the nutrients that we need to find balance. But here's the thing, hormones are not just impacted by our nutrition. It's a huge part. And like, we could go all day talking about that, and we should probably do a follow-up presentation just on our nutrition and our hormones. But today I actually wanted to talk to you about the lifestyle factors, or the hidden factors that can be disrupting your hormones that you may not be aware of, and that when we can address or take action on, that we can then start seeing improvement within our hormones. Okay, so we're going to talk about those factors in a second, but along with talking about our hormonal symptoms, we have to understand that hormones are hormones, and how they are connected is very complex. And really, there is many interactions. We can say there are pushes and pulls. There are hormones that stimulate. There are hormones that suppress. And when we're looking at hormone imbalance today, we are primarily focusing on these primary areas. The major players that we're going to talk about is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. And this is really important when it comes to stress and chronic stress management. But the adrenals, in coordination with the hypothalamus and the pituitary, also have a direct impact on our thyroid, as well as our sex organs, and then therefore our sex hormones. And we have to understand that, if we're having menstrual cycle disruption, we need to look at the whole web. We need to look at the whole picture, and we can't just look at an isolated hormone imbalance or symptom of that imbalance, but that we need to look at a bigger picture and look at the whole picture in order to get success and address the issue in a successful manner. Now, I wanted to take a time, especially in the realm of menstruation and women's hormones, to talk about hormonal birth control. Okay, we looked at that laundry list of symptoms, and whether you're looking to prevent a pregnancy or not, hormonal birth control is a great tool for controlling fertility, so there is no judgment, and not saying that it is a bad thing to be on. Worldwide, there's over 100 million users of some form of control. So whether that's a daily pill, a birth control pill, or an IUD, and other types of hormonal birth control. And so it allows a lot of freedom for women and control of the reproductive health. However, it's often used as a band-aid to help us manage hormonal imbalance, in particular our menstrual cycle hormones. And that is good. It can help us to minimize the impact on our lifestyle and our day-to-day life. However, it can also just be a cover-up. It's not fixing the problem. It is suppressing the problem. And why is that a bad or a not positive thing? Is that long-term, it can actually delay us addressing those imbalances, but also some of the nutrients that we need nutritionally are that for proper balance are actually depleted by hormonal birth control. So if we're looking to bring balance, the birth control can seem like it's balancing us, and I guess through external sources is providing a balance, but what it is actually doing is just covering up those symptoms. And then long term, we can actually be impacting our overall health as well as our reproductive health when individuals then try to have a baby. For example, we can have, whether it's painful periods, irregular cycles, endometriosis, those are some key issues that I do see the birth control prescribed for controlling. And then I also see women who are in their 30s who are now wanting to have children and are still having those symptoms. And but now the time is ticking, the clock is ticking on their fertility window, and they feel a lot of stress and pressure to get that sorted out so that they can have the baby that they want to have. Alternatively, oftentimes as we go into perimenopause or going through the menopausal period in our lives, we can start having increased hormonal imbalances. And then women are often prescribed birth control at this phase, where they are not necessarily wanting to prevent a pregnancy, maybe that's past, but they're using those external hormones to then control those symptoms. And, while that, again, adds to our daily quality of life, without addressing those imbalances, we're just covering up more disruption long term as it depletes antioxidants, B vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin E, magnesium, selenium, and zinc. So is there a better way? Yes, I see this often in my practice. I work one-to-one, as I mentioned, with clients regularly to optimize and support them in balancing their hormones. Now, when we look at our cycle, obviously, nutrients and nutrition are important. I mentioned that before. And so I just wanted to take a moment to talk about the foods that can be helpful or disruptive for our hormones. Particularly today, I want to talk about the disruptors and briefly cover the hormone helpers as we get into the lifestyle factors or the hidden factors that you might not be aware that could be impacting your hormones. So in our nutrition or in our food choices, there are some big potential disruptors. Now, coffee is a tricky one. It's definitely something that can impact our hormones. We can see it especially if we already have a high stress burden. However, usually we can tolerate 1 to 2 8-ounce cups without any negative side effects. However, if we're seeing significant disruption, we may want to take a break and see how we do without it. Sugar and carbohydrates, this is very much disruptive, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more, but it has an impact on our blood sugar, which plays a big part in setting the foundation for our hormones. So if we're having potential disruption, we want to make sure that we're not over consuming sugar or carbohydrates that are of poor quality or highly processed, because that does have a direct impact on our hormones. And then alcohol. Our society has a tendency, we use alcohol as celebration, social, stress relief. However, there really is no good amount of alcohol when it comes to hormones. So if you're experiencing hormone symptoms or hormone disruptive symptoms, we may want to also take a break from that alcohol as we find balance. And then lastly, soy. So soy, especially in a plant-based world, can be a great source of protein. It does have some micronutrients that it brings to the table as well. However, when we are dealing with especially women's hormones, we may want to avoid or completely limit soy in our diet because it can be estrogenic and then add to some of those hormone imbalances or hormonal symptoms that we might be experiencing. So food-wise, nutrition-wise, I just wanted to pop in there. They're not necessarily hidden, but not always well-known. And, if we're having some issues, these are some spots that we can start taking action. Now, the hidden factors that can impact our hormones, in particular our sex hormones, are the following. So when we look at our hormonal balance, what our month-to-month symptoms are, how we're feeling, we need to really look at, the things that are beyond our nutrition and are in our lifestyle. So when we look at our lifestyle, first stop that we need to consider, especially within our hormones, is our stress level. Okay. How would you rate your stress level right now? You could mark it as mild, moderate, or severe, crazy. You could give me a number on a scale of 1 to 10, or just think it to yourself. But if you're comfortable, pop it in the chat. So here's the thing: we live a pretty high-paced life in our current society, Western world, whether it's balancing our different role duties, whether it's just mom, person, partner, work roles, and then just managing all the in-betweens. We can feel like we're burning the candles at both ends, pardon me. And so when we look at our stress, we don't want to be pulling too hard or going too hard, because stress, whether it is physical, so working really hard, not getting enough sleep, mental or emotional, feeling overwhelmed, anxious, depressed, just worry in general, our body all sees that as stress, and that can really have a heavy burden on our health, in particular our hormones. And because our body doesn't view a mental and emotional stress any different than physical stress, we can then have this extra burden on our body. Our stress hormones are integral in controlling our sex hormones as well. They really do. They are a part of setting the foundation for healthy hormones. And your body is going to prioritize survival over reproduction. And so we can start seeing imbalances in that state. So if you're feeling very tapped out, mentally, emotionally, or physically, we need to work at stress management, so lifestyle management, seeking out proper professional mental health care and strategies, but also then nourishing the body in a way that will actually help to reduce stress. And we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. And then exercise. Okay, so we look at exercise. Generally, exercise is really good. But when we're looking at our hormones, we want to make sure that we're in the sweet spot for our body. Now, we just talked about stress. And exercise can be a form of good stress on our body. It presents a challenge. It can actually help us regulate our hormones if we're in the right amount. But too little exercise, so if we find ourselves sitting all day, sedentary lifestyle, many of us are behind the computer, myself included, and have to make a very concentrated effort to get our bodies moving. But if we're sitting all day, we can actually impact our sensitivity to certain hormones that control our blood sugar and then impact our sex hormones and beyond. Alternatively, if we are really pushing it in the exercise, so going really intensely or for long periods, we can actually be increasing our physical stress, which can then have an impact on our hormonal state. So with exercise, I recommend, and this is very much in line with Health Canada, World Health Organization recommendations, that we engage in some moderate, it can be a little bit mild to moderate depending on our stress level, exercise around 5 days a week, whether that's walking, strength training, yoga, or etc. We will feel better. Our hormones will be coming into balance more readily, and just overall, we will have a better health outcome in every area of our life. Okay, so just the right amount of exercise is where we want to hit, and everyone is individual. Sleep. Again, we are running a fast-paced life. Sometimes we, whether it's working late, having to get up early, managing all the different responsibilities of life, our sleep can suffer. Now, some of us, we want to sleep. Does anyone here experience trouble falling asleep or staying asleep? That can also be related with hormones, not directly necessarily sex hormones, but we can look at our stress hormones, or many of us are familiar with the hormone called melatonin. Okay, and so if we're having some disruption in our sleep, whether it's due to hormones or not, that can then contribute to further hormonal imbalance. We need ideally around 7 hours of sleep. That's kind of the average middle optimal sleep. More can be good. They do show by 6 hours of sleep that we can have some decreased mental performance, and that we are actually, most individuals are better off with 7, even if we can survive on 5 and 6. You will likely be performing better at 7. And what this does is this allows us to go into a rest and restore state. Our body does go through a restorative processes as we sleep. It helps brain function, but it can also help hormone function. And much like too little exercise, too little sleep can actually impact our body's response to insulin, which can contribute to insulin resistance as well as other hormonal imbalances. So sleep is a great balancer in our health and in our hormones. Now, interestingly, if you were around for one of our previous presentations, we talked about gut health. And gut health includes your digestion, but also your the health of the microbiome that lives within your digestive system, primarily your large intestine. And that microbiome really can impact our hormones. In particular, we have a group of organisms, bacteria in particular, that are called your estroblome. And what that group of organisms does is it actually, as a byproduct of its function, releases an enzyme that can act on estrogen within your stool or your bowel matter. And if that is out of balance, we can actually be re-releasing estrogen back into the body that is supposed to be leaving. And that in particular can cause an estrogen imbalance. Now, it's also important just in general, the microbiome activity, because some of their byproducts actually are precursors to neurotransmitters and hormones that will impact our overall health. So your gut health is very much tied to your hormone health. And then We also have medication. So very much like birth control can actually impact the nutrient balance within our hormone balance world. We can also have medications that are impacting our hormones that we might not even be aware of. And so, especially if we're looking at a hormone that is meant to control hormones just in general, whether we're using exogenous hormones or we're looking to find some balance there through something like metformin, different medications and or drugs can impact our hormones, and we want to make sure that we are not omitting that in our journey to find hormone balance. And then lastly, we want to look at things like environmental exposure. We often talk about, our nutrition and bringing balance and trying to find balance through what we're eating, what we're bringing in through our food. But we also need to be aware that our environment around us, or what we choose to use in our environment, can also impact our hormones. Have you, I just mentioned this to another client, but does everyone remember BPA? It was a preservative that they would use in plastic water bottles. That actually turned out to be extremely hormone disrupting. So when we're looking at our environment, we're looking for things that are chemical compounds that can actually disrupt our endocrine glands or our hormone systems. And this is not to be understated. Because not only do we consume hormones through our food and our water, or hormone disruptors through our food and our water, but we can actually inhale them, we can absorb them through our skin. And so we need to be aware of all of these options. We can also look for hormone disruptors in things like canned food products like fish. We can look at things like dioxin, look in our water. Okay, most of us are on municipal water and it is tested, but there have been traces of the hormones that are used in birth control back in that water supply, because we are essentially excreting it through our urine. That is coming through into the water supply and coming back through our municipal water supply. We also want to look for, in our personal care products in particular, things like parabens or preservatives like phthalates. Both of those compounds have been shown to inhibit estrogen. We also want to make sure that, we are being careful with our sunscreens. I was like, okay, well, where's my thought going? Okay, sunscreens. Many of the very popular sunscreens that you find on your average shelf, they have, you might see like avobenzone, oxybenzone. Those types of products have been directly linked with increases in estrogen within our blood supply. So we think that we're doing a good job by covering our body, protecting it from the UV rays. However, there can be some harmful health impacts when we are using those products. So I always recommend that you use a mineral sunscreen with products that do not contain parabens, and then we are protecting our skin, but we're not then having those hormone impactors. And then also we can look at things like natural antimicrobials within things like hand sanitizer or even our toothpaste. These products can also, they're antimicrobial, but they can also have an impact with our endocrine system as well. It's really, these hormone disruptors in our environment are really pervasive. And we can get them, like I said, whether it's in our food or our water, whether we inhale them. Have you ever opened a shower curtain or a plastic blow up and there's that plastic smell? That smell is actually some of the phthalates or the volatile organic compounds that are off-gassing. And those are also very disruptive to our hormones, in particular, our sex hormones. So we want to be aware of that. And so some steps that you can actually take to reduce that environmental exposure is to limit fragrance fragrance products, fragrance personal care products, using more natural scents, or for example, essential oils. They're a great way to work with, like, you can still have like that scented feel without having those artificial fragrances. Using things like cloth shower curtains, or letting plastic things off gas outside before bringing them into your home. And then also being really aware of things like your canned fish products, that sort of thing, so that we're not, consuming tuna every day, for example, with high mercury and possibly things like PCBs, and then adding into our overall disruption in our hormones. Also adding a charcoal filter, whether it's a Brita or on the tap, that can be a great way of just having a second screen on what's coming through those municipal waterways. So very, we're kind of going over these in a quick way, but each of these areas we can dive into to create significant improvement and impact on our hormones today, and start working so that we can have the sustainable change for long-term health and wellness. I want to go back to the nutrition portion, but also to connect this with our stress and our exercise, as well, and our microbiome. So this kind of plays a big part of our hormone balance that's often overlooked, because we're like, oh, blood sugar. Many of us are aware of what it is. It is the level of glucose, which is a simple form of sugar that is found in our blood at any given moment. Okay, so blood sugar, we can control it by what we eat. Obviously, eating sugar is something that will impact it. How much, what we eat is a big part of our blood sugar control. However, many of these hidden hormone disruptors actually have an impact on our blood sugar balance. And blood sugar balance really does set the foundation for the rest of our hormone balance, especially when we look at things like stress hormones, thyroid hormones, as well as our sex hormones. So when we look at this hormone balancing pyramid, we can see at the bottom, we have our nutrition and our lifestyle. As all of the factors that we just discussed, whether it's lifestyle through exposure or lifestyle through habit, these are going to impact our hormones. Nutritionally, we have this direct, but also possibly indirect impact on our blood sugar. So obviously, when we bring in things like carbohydrates, we talked about the foods that affect our hormones, we're going to have an impact on our blood sugar. However, when we eat can also impact our blood sugar, and then also what we're not eating can impact our blood sugar. So this is a whole topic. I definitely want to dig into this with all of you further. There's some really simple but actionable steps we can take with our diet to impact our blood sugar. But interestingly, when we look at our hormones, we can go one step further and look at our digestion of our food, of our diet, and also our elimination there. So the digestion, how we bring in our food, how we utilize the nutrients that we bring in can impact our hormones. And then, as I mentioned, our elimination of our food is also important for our hormone balance. When we look at elimination and balance of hormones, oftentimes when it comes to things like cancer risk, especially if there's an estrogen receptor or an estrogen responding, cancer, estrogen positive cancer, that's what I'm looking for. We want to make sure that we're not overexposing ourselves to estrogen, that we're having proper estrogen balance within our diet. And our liver is actually really responsible for kind of watching those fluctuation levels of estrogen in our blood, and then packaging it through normal detoxification that we do daily. And then it goes into our bile and enters our what would be our chyme at that point, and then comes in, turns into our stool. That is a way for our body to get rid of those extra estrogens that may be in our body. Now, if our elimination, which means how often we have a bowel movement, also as well as our urine, etc., can impact our estrogen or our hormone levels. And so it's really important that our gut health is healthy. Okay, our gut health is where it should be, that we are having at least one bowel movement a day. We are not going too fast or too slow, because that does have an indirect impact on our hormone levels. Now, I had mentioned blood sugar is so important. Okay, so obviously this is the next layer. What we have to understand is that our blood sugar hormones, when it comes to our thyroid hormone, so how fast or how slow our metabolism is, how fast or slow our body is going, as well as our sex hormones when it comes to our menstrual cycle, as well as our sleep and our stress, and then even into menopause, blood sugar balance is really where you can start either going awry or getting back on track. Okay, so understanding the how this works is really freeing, and it can really our lifestyle factors really do impact these hormones. So just as a brief summary, the primary hormones that we look at with blood sugar balance is insulin. This is a hormone that is released from the pancreas, primarily to tell the cells to take in the sugar that's in the blood for energy. Okay. And we want to be nice and sensitive to this insulin. If we become desensitized, like many do in insulin resistance or pre-diabetes, our body's just is not responding to it at the same level as it should be. The blood sugar is staying within the blood as opposed to getting into our cells. And that is a crisis for our health and our hormones as well. This is actually one of the reasons that we can end up with easily gaining weight and keeping on the weight. As well, this insulin resistance. And so how we eat and when we eat and what we eat really does impact this as well. And then on the other end, we talked about stress hormones, things with mental, emotional, and physical stress. Well, when we maybe don't eat enough, when we go too long without eating, if we don't get the right balance, sometimes we can end up with what's called low blood sugar. And a low blood sugar is an energy crisis for our body, because blood sugar is the preferred form, an easy form of fuel that your body wants. And so your body will actually use stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline to actually act on stored energy that could be within your muscles, for example, to release that nutrition or those building blocks to make more glucose. So we're already living a pretty stressful life. We don't want to add to that anymore. So those insulin and adrenaline hormones are very important for setting the balance. If we are out of balance at this point, we can actually see an impact on our thyroid hormones, and then down the road, our sex hormones as well. So where can we take action? We can make sure that our blood sugar is balanced and in that proper range. Now, I see women on the call. As I mentioned, hormonal imbalances primarily seen as a women's issue. And in light of our, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, really focusing on these hormones, because the truth of the matter is many women are unsatisfied with their overall wellness. In fact, 1 in 4 women report not being happy with where they are in their health and wellness. And some of this is because we are givers. We're naturally givers. Many of us are. We are taking care of those around us. But the truth is, we need to take care of ourselves, and we need to do a better job of putting ourselves higher on our own to-do list. And some of that is important for regaining hormone balance, regaining energy and vitality, and putting those rose-colored glasses back on, where we can show up and be our best selves for those around us. So where can you get started? We talked about a lot of things today, and it can seem like, okay, where do we start? And this is very, very simplistic, but the truth of the matter, it starts with the simple stuff. First step is managing your stress and environment. So some of us don't have a lot of control on our day-to-day schedules, our lives, in the fact that, you know, we have responsibilities. Sometimes can we say no to some things? Other times it's, how do we perceive that stress? Are we at least taking some time for ourselves? Are we getting proper rest? And that's not even just sleep, but are we taking time to rest and give, you know, pour back into our bodies? And then also looking at your environment, looking for things like those fragrances, the preservatives, looking at some of the things that might be in your food or your personal care products. And then eating well, choosing whole, unprocessed foods and fueling your body. Many women are under eating, and that's actually contributing to their hormone imbalance. They're wondering, why do I crave these things? You know, or why am I putting on weight? Or why am I experiencing these hormone imbalances? I'm exercising, and I'm still not reaching my optimal weight. And some of that is actually we're under fueling, or we're fueling our body in an unbalanced way that contributes to this hormone disruption. And then moving your body. So blood sugar and hormones very closely connected. And, you know, we don't need to go sweat for an hour at the gym. Sometimes we just need to add some activity during our day, whether that's yoga or walking, getting up and moving. And then I would challenge some strength training at least twice a week. That muscle mass, that hormone reaction that you get, or the response that you get from challenging your muscles, is just gold when it comes to hormones as well as blood sugar control. And then lastly is prioritizing to get some sleep. So sleep is such an underrated way to improve your health, but really getting proper quality sleep is essential for all areas of health. And so either getting to bed a little bit earlier, working with some sleep hygiene, and sometimes, you know what you do in the day impacts how you sleep. So if you're like, I am having sleep trouble, there are likely nutrition and lifestyle factors that you can look at to improve your sleep as well. And I'd be happy to discuss those further with you. My mouse went to sleep. I've been talking so long. All right. So with that, you know, I talked to you a lot about actions that you could take today. This event is hosted through the Next Level Wellness community. And I'm really excited to, along with the Next Level Wellness community, to tell you a little bit about a program. This is going to be our beta phase of the program. I work, like I mentioned, one-on-one with women and clients all the time to bring their hormones into balance. And I want to invite you to be a part of the beta program of Breakthrough to Balance. And this program is designed for you to find hormone balance, as well as to really optimize your energy, finding your ideal weight, and just generally improving your overall wellness. This program is starting November 7th, so it's coming up really quick here. I know we're in the last week of October. So 6 weeks, we're going to be meeting Mondays from noon to 1 p.m. live. All sessions will be recorded. So if you can't make it live, you can still take advantage of the program and all of the value that it has to bring through the replays, as well as through nutrition guides and lifestyle guides to help you get your health back on track, to bring balance to your hormones, your metabolism, and finding your ideal weight. There will be live, my goodness, I typed that wrong, live Q&As in our Next Level Wellness community. And so this brings me to the next bonus. It's a great bonus. So along with the Breakthrough to Balance, you'll also get a 1-year membership to the Next Level Wellness community and have access to great events like this. After December, they will no longer be open to the public, just to the Next Level Wellness community members. So in that community, which the 1-year membership is a value of $349, we actually have monthly exclusive topic webinars such as this. And some of the members, like, we do member polling on what do you want to learn about. We can explore and learn from health experts. So some of the topics that we discuss, I bring in fitness, mental health professionals, and more. And then we will also be hosting a live Q&As within that community. So all of the activity for Breakthrough to Balance will be happening within the Next Level Wellness community, and members do get free access to that program. And then along with being just a member of the community, you get monthly recipe collections and resources and discounts on any health and wellness products that are available through Nina Lane Wellness. If you're interested in that, I'd love if you just pop your email or me in the chat, and Tara will follow up with you. If you're watching the replay, watch out on your email for an opportunity to join that, the Breakthrough to Balance. It's going to be a great program. And so the cost for the Breakthrough to Balance, I didn't mention that yet, is only $199 for the beta launch. This program, as we run it in the new year, will be at a higher price point. But as the beta launch, we want to bring it to you at the best price possible. And then with that, looking for just, community engagement, openness, and honesty around your results, and to walk through that with you in a close way. All right. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope that you found some nuggets of value and wisdom that you can take and apply in your day-to-day life to help you optimize your health and take your wellness to the next level. Does anyone have questions? If not, we'll see you next time. I'm looking forward to the next event happening in November. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.